I have decided that a small amount of music in the background probably isn't a bad thing, considering how quiet the last episode had parts. I've also decided I'm going to start educating on more than just what my character is currently doing. So, in the dead spots as I'm running around, due to the fact that there's not that much to talk about when you're leveling a character, I'll have other topics related to Path that I will talk about. Today is largely going to be based around item drops and item crafting. And my mouse is not on yet again. There we go. I got the bright and obnoxious mouse. Okay. So we were in the caverns. I seriously can't play this character. It's entirely too obnoxious on all this shit. Turn off the ridiculous wings and the pets. There we go. We'll leave the red laser. Why not? Hope y'all like a little ragtime. Seemed like good background music and an antithesis to Ryan's chip tunes and the like I believe you listen to over there. So, I was talking about we were going to go on about item crafting and the like today. And so I'm going to start with explaining item rarities and crafting and the limitations of said items. So, when you find item drops, obviously you should probably know what 3 rarities there are. You've got your commons, your magic, as you can see, commons, magic, and then rare drops. The rarities of these actually do have an effect on your crafting. If you've noticed, or maybe you haven't, when you go to up the quality on armor and weapons using blacksmith whetstones and armor packs, normal items get 5% quality per use, magic items get 2%, and rares get 1%. Which means if you're going to craft something, you might as well quality it before you add the actual craft for the rarity and such. When you are doing maps, when you're doing flasks, really anything, it behooves you to do that first. And we just got a superior quicksilver, so gotta go fast. Other important parts: your magic or your rare and magic items are harder to successfully socket and link than your normal items, and your quality also helps with successful socketing and linking. So if you're going to craft something by hand, you've got like a good shape or elder item, you're going to take it from the ground up and try and make a good rare out of it using the new fossil system. Then you want to quality the thing and then try and socket it and link it before you actually upgrade it, because it will end up in the end costing you less actual fusings and jeweler sockets or jeweler rolls. Each rarity has a certain limit of things that can be on it, obviously. Your normals can't have anything but sometimes a single implicit, where you'll get, I don't think I have one here that I can show you, where you have like the 9% spell damage on that wand. That would be there on a common wand. But you can't have anything else on a common. You get a magic, and you can have 1 or 2 affixes to it, be it prefix or suffix. There are limitations to those that I will explain in a moment. And then your rares, depending on the actual eye level, can have up to 6 affixes. This is important to note when you're doing crafting, because if you're crafting something from the ground up using masters and such, you want to make sure that your item only ends up with 4 or 5 affixes if you really need to put a master crafted thing on it. And I do highly advise that, because the master crafting system does offer some very good buffs. Wow, our damage is slow as shit right now. But I guess that's to be expected when we're running around using totems and wands. Can't wait for better gear. So anyway, when you are crafting your items, there's also guaranteed numbers of affixes that can be earned from certain crafting styles. When you craft something with a magic, you craft something in magic rarity using alterations, transmutations, and the like, you are guaranteed 1 or 2 affixes. When you craft something using craft something to rare using regals, wow, these guys froze me solid, the rat bastards. We need some zombies up in here. when you craft something using regals, you're not guaranteed any certain amount of affixes. It will simply turn the item rare and then add between 0 and 4 new affixes to it, so you can actually end up with a 2 or 3 affix rare item. This is a suboptimal way to do it, and so generally the only reason you craft something into magic before you craft it into rare is in the case of strong boxes and such, but we'll talk about strong box crafting later. If you use an alchemy orb, an essence, or one of the new fossil systems, you will be guaranteed at least 4 affixes, with a chance at 5 and a rather rare chance at dropping something with 6 affixes. So you gotta keep that in mind when you're trying to craft something. Just because you found a magic item with good rolls on it doesn't necessarily mean you want to regal that, unless you're willing to spend the subsequent exalted and crafting costs to actually turn it into a good item. And then of course uniques generally have fixed affixes. They all have guaranteed things that show up on them. There's only a couple of uniques that can actually be different from one another, which are things like Eyes of the Great Wolf Amulet, which roll with random things on them. The new belts that come from the incursion temples, they can have random affixes on them as well, and generally found those belts are pretty bad unless you're leveling a character. So we were talking crafting here while I'm running through the caverns and slowly killing all this shit. I'm going to go through the different systems of crafting using essences, using fossils and such, the techniques of master crafting and the like. But I figure we'll start with the classic crafting, which was kind of the way it was done before you had any master systems.
Recognize myself.
I level up, yay. Some more health. What you would generally do is you'd take a common item, you'd quality it, you'd socket it, you'd throw a transmutation at it to turn it into a magic item, then you'd use your alterations to re-roll it until you got 2 affixes you'd like. Then you'd throw a regal orb at it, turn it into a rare, and then you just keep throwing chaos orbs at it until it was what you wanted, or you throw exalted orbs at it to add stuff until it was, something worthwhile. This is, of course, a suboptimal way to craft anything these days, just because there's so many different ways to control your crafting systems, and those things are really annoying. Oh dear God, this thing gives us super speed. So, controlled crafting systems, things like essences and fossils, allow you to start with your commons and magic items, and end up with better controlled crafts. But what you can do is, obviously, you go ahead and socket your socket your items, that kind of thing. And then the way essences work is, I will actually probably go back and show you a couple here. I don't have much, but that's only because I haven't done much farming in this season yet. Yes, Alfreon, let's move it along here, buddy. Oh, look, there's idiots over there. Portal! Oh dear God, I forgot how obnoxious that portal was. So anyway, essences, you ever get an essence tab, it'll look something like this. And you get essences, depending on the different quality of said essence. Each one is a higher level. As you can see, this is level 35 and below, level 45 and below, 55, 65, 75. Well, I think it actually drops to like 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, something like that. But as you can see, depending on the item that you're using, it will give you certain stats. And then what you can do is you can take 3 of this one, and you can combine them through either a vendor recipe or the convenient upgrade button in the Essence tab to turn them into one of the higher tier. And then you can just keep stacking along the way until you get the highest tier, and these obviously get better stats. They have these for physical damage, cold damage, energy shield, minions, all these kinds of things where you'll have one specific type of build. And this will give you a guaranteed rare item out of a normal item with one of these affixes on it. So, let me show you one here. We'll go ahead and craft something. Oh, yes, Nessa, go ahead and give me whatever garbage I don't care about.
Welcome.
Sell all this crap. Well, let's find an item we want to craft on. How about some energy shield boots or something? Yeah, there's some 20% quality boots already. Interesting tidbit, if you guys didn't know this. You can find stuff like this in the sale, where it has 20% quality already, or it already has, or it'll have 3 sockets that are chromatic, things like that. These do not affect the purchase price of the item, but you can buy them. Here's one. Like, I can buy this for a scroll of wisdom, turn right around, sell item, and it's a chromatic.
Farewell.
And so you can keep an eye on all the shops whenever you go into them. You can get easy chromatics and easy other crafting items like that. So we got these sandals here. And we can go ahead and use one of these essences on it if we wanted. In this case, this on armor would say reflect 1 to 4 physical damage to melee attackers. But that's not what I really want to get out of this. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just start with a transmutation to turn this into a magic. And then we get 6% fire resist, and we can just re-roll this a couple of times. And hey, we actually got 3 out of that one. Re-rolling into 3 is actually not real common. Now, I don't have any regal orbs, so I can't really regal this. But if we go ahead and do that, and then this, as you can see, I got guaranteed 4. I ended up with 5. Plus 26 life is pretty good for this level, so I'm going to go ahead with that one. Help me stay alive a little bit. We got room for some bonus gems on there. Bonus support. So we'll just throw a Phantasm on kill. I don't really care about those items. I love that music in the background. It's fucking great. So anyway, that's the aspect of essence crafting that came around in the Essence League like 2 or 3 years ago, something like that. And you'll find these essences around the world when you find a kind of a frozen essence monster. You'll see it on the mini-map as like 4 little blue spikes. And you walk up to it, it'll say what essence the monster has been enchanted with. And then you break the monster out of its, oh yes, Maribel, bitch more, you fucking triggered the whole bag. Moving on. So you'll find it on the mini-map, just kind of mark there, run after it, break it out of the essence, and then all you have to do is kill it and its friends. It's always a rare pack, so you'll have the rare mob in the middle and then a handful of buggers around it that you have to kill. And it will drop whatever essence it has on it. And of course, you can also collect it in the new Delve League. You can get them out of essence delves. Speaking of the new Delve League, the new fossil crafting system is probably the most complex crafting system they've come up with yet. The simple explanation is you find fossils, you socket 1 or more fossils into a resonator. Then the resonator acts just like a alchemy orb in order to... Yeah, that's stage 1. Damn, I forgot how slow the friggin' totem builds are early game. This must be so exciting to watch. Right? Now, to be fair, I did go ahead and decide I was going to do this stupid, silly little build here.
I get you Peter excited when I was building stupid excited like asking. I'm on there sitting there.
It's like I'd stream it on some time, but no.
Well, you use graphics. It makes a little more sense for me.
Yeah. Oh, come on, Maribel, just die already. So nice that they changed Val Gems so that you can get them from striking yours. Hey, look at all this.
Fishwife, 'twas love that did this to you.
All right, moving along. So fossil crafting. I can go show you a little bit of it here. I'm not actually going to craft anything because I've had horrible rolls this game and I haven't had shit for fossils drop. If we go back to our hideout here. Go over here to our stash. We've got the resonators here. You got 1 socket. I don't have any 2 sockets right now. I've got a couple of 3 sockets and pittance of fossils. So what you do with these is you just socket them right in there and then it lets you make something out of it. Alright, and these all have certain modifiers that they give your item. In this case, more cold but no fire modifiers, more lightning but no physical modifiers. What that would do is that causes your rare roll to weight certain rolls on it in certain directions. Say the frigid falls here, more cold but no fire. What that would do is, like on my gloves here where it has 12% cold resist, like I'd have a greater chance of getting cold resist, but I couldn't get fire resist off of that. It also has unique roles, stuff like +1 to cold gems and stuff like that. And the idea being is that you can go ahead and socket this in there and choose what you want. And then the really powerful part of this is the no modifiers. You can take these and you can use them to restrict, so you can't have certain modifiers on them. I wish I had a bigger selection of fossils to show you here, because there's probably better than 20 different kinds. And when you combine 3 or 4 of these, because there are 4 socket resonators too, which are really fucking rare, but are really nice to find, you can create something that's going to craft damn near the perfect rare item for you. You can, using this no modifiers on these, force out all the modifiers you don't want, and heighten all the ones you do want, and allow you to craft what amounts to the perfect rare. You take an item like, I don't even have a good one here to show you, but like this one here, the two-tone boots. They're a level 70 boot, they're pretty high grade, and they're kind of hard to find. So you're going to have a bitch of a time getting a drop of the perfect item you want. Now these are kind of crap. I tried to re-roll them, but they didn't work out super well. Now if you notice something odd about these boots though, look at the quality, 29%. Not supposed to be able to do that, because usually your max quality, as you can see on a couple of my pieces here, are 20% on that, and then gems have historically been able to be val corrupted into having 23% quality. But there's a new fossil, perfect fossil, that you can socket into one of these when you are making it, if you don't have all the sockets full or you just don't want to use one, or if you're crafting this in stages, you can toss one of these perfect fossils in a one socket resonator, or combine it with other resonators, and throw it on this, and it will re-roll the quality for anywhere between 1 to 30%. And it's heavily weighted towards the high end, so chances are if you use a perfect fossil, you'll get above 20%. I got lucky, I rolled this into a 29% quality boot, which massively increases the amount of armor and energy shield the boots can give. Now, of course, due to how this is, it has to be able to re-roll the item, so it has to be a rare. You can't like re-roll quality on uniques up to 30%. This is another reason why you don't always want full uniques. Like a couple of my characters here tend to run pretty heavy on the uniques. That's only because I haven't actually found all the Elder Shaper and high tier items that I want to replace a lot of those uniques with. Rares can almost universally be better than the uniques, because you can fit them better to your build. So this is by and large how you do the fossil crafting system. I think I actually want to use these gloves. I don't know. Oh, too bad I don't use lightning gems. 7% bonus spell damage, so it could be good. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Pop the clear out. Swap these ones for some extra spell damage.
So there you are.
Grab these gloves. As you can see though, my character's not going super quick, because we need to get some of this other gear on as quick as we can. I don't even think I have anything else I can equip right now. Nope. Nothing worth a damn. What are we at? Yep. Alright, let's keep moving here. So, there's more crafting to talk about, because that's not even the peak, or that's not even the tip of what is possible in the crafting systems in this game. I was talking about master crafting earlier, using the masters like Verici, Elrion, and the like you saw there, to be able to craft your items with even greater precision. The master crafting system allows you to actually pick a specific suffix or prefix to craft on your item. Now, they are mildly limited in which ones they can pick. By and large, they're generally just stats or life resistances. Sometimes they will have unique ones that you can craft on there that you can't really get anywhere else. But like, you're not going to be able to craft, you know, +1 to socketed fire gems onto an item. But the fact that you can control it is very powerful. So if you get like the perfect rare, but it doesn't have a life modifier on it, you know, if you remember from our first video, life is everything to an endgame character. You need to have enough life to survive all of the game's bullshit. Then obviously that rare becomes, you know, subpar because it's not giving you any life. Well, you pop it in the proper workbench, be it the armor workbench or the divine font or something, and you go ahead and just craft what you need on it. The masters, as they may appear around the world, you may find it a bit tedious to stop and do their mission every time they show up. if you're, you know, relatively new, you may not understand the importance of doing their missions. If you can get a master up to level 7, level 8, not only do you get the bigger hideout, but you can also get the bigger, better, and more badass enchants for your gear, including, or crafts for your gear, including the double craft, which for one exalted, you can kind of craft onto an item the meta craft that says this can have more than one crafted buff on it. So you can put two crafted suffixes, prefixes, and the like on a single rare item, allowing you to control it even further.
Ancient
We'll grab
foes
some
open new
prophecies here. Oh, use an orb of transmutation and we'll gain a life mod.
breathing life into the beautiful.
I greet you.
Let's buy an item and make a ridiculous life ring or something like that. I don't know if I want to replace that just yet. So let's go for a coral ring and see what we can make for a life mod on it. Boop.
Blue tendrils and valor.
Plus 46 life,
Breathing
sure,
life
why
into
not?
the beautifully
We'll
emerged.
augment that for another thing. 6% cold resist. Sure, let's get a ridiculous amount of life off of that.
What do you want? Exiles.
Okay. Go kill some bandits. So, you can craft multiple things onto an item to help you control the crafting system further. The only master that does not follow this normal crafting system is Deric, who is probably the most important one to level up by about a country mile, because he does color and socket crafting. If you've ever tried to color an item with the colors you want, or try and get a 5 or 6 link on a body or weapon, you can tell just what a giant pain in the ass that is. Because obviously it's not easy. And so what Deric does is, for a moderate fee, you can pop an item on his workbench and you can tell it, recolor the sockets on this with 1, 2, or 3 of a specific color, 1 of one color and 2 of another color, or color mixes along those lines. You can also force it to craft all the way up to 6 sockets and all the way up to 6 links. Now, the sockets and links on the Deric bench are not the most efficient. They are theoretically the amount you'd have to pay if you got bad luck in your rolls. What that would mean is, say you're trying to 6-link an item. 6-link costs 1,200 fusings. And that's because the chance to get a fuse is about, it's like 0.09% or something like that. Anyway, point being is, in theory, you should only have to spend about 1,000 to 1,200 to get it. And so the Deric bench just guarantees you that if you got really bad luck, you don't have to worry about it, you get guaranteed. Because you can, I've heard stories of people spending all the way up to like 5,000 fusings on a single really good item that they want to get 6-link on, and they just can't do it because they keep throwing fusings at it and it just doesn't happen. And they're convinced that it's the gambling fallacy. They've invested 4,000 fusings into this, so it possibly can't cost them another 1,000 fusings, so they still don't want to use Deric yet. You know, and then of course it ends up costing them another 1,500, and they feel like an idiot by the time it actually becomes 6-link. And so if you're low on money, if you don't have a lot of fusings and jeweler's orbs to spare, and you really want that 6-link on that one item and one chest piece or weapon to guarantee your build, then spending the money on Deric to get that guarantee is, a lot of the time, very much worth it. Because then you don't have to be scared of getting that 2,000 fusing investment in your 6-link. Now, links and colors are not the only thing that he can do, though. If you've ever palled around these valve side areas, you may notice you pick up corrupted items. Now, the most obvious thing of a corrupted item is it can't be changed. Once it's corrupted, you're screwed. It's stuck. You can't re-roll it, you can't adjust the sockets, you can't do anything to it. Well, that's where you're not exactly right. A level 8 Deric can, in fact, change a corrupted item. Now, this is very expensive because it costs you equal parts Vow Orbs to whatever chromatic fusing or socket that you need to put into it. So say you wanted to 6-link something that was already corrupted. Well, that's insanely expensive because now not only are you paying 1,200 fusings, you're paying 1,200 Val Orbs. Oh, this is gonna suck. I got a guy with a bubble shield. He's fast, and I'm using totems. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. The shield makes him immune to projectiles. Yeah. Well, I can still attack, so let's try to just do something. He's gonna kill my ass. Oh good, I'm bleeding. Yay. And there we go. Woohoo. I hate guys like this when I'm trying to do jank builds. Anyway, so we were talking corrupted crafting. None of the other crafters can do this. You can't go through and add to a corrupted rare or anything like that. It's only Verici, and it's just kind of a quality of life thing that the devs allow us to do, just so that when you do get that one perfect roll and you decide you want, and it comes from an area like this item right here. You see, it's corrupted scepter, and actually I think I'm gonna run that because it's really fucking good. 20% elemental damage. I'm going to take that item off. Oh, what did that do for our damage? 120 DPS, whereas we were originally at, yeah, go away boost. We are at 120 as well. So this will at least let us run a shield of some kind. Okay. Go ahead and pop my raised zombie on that. Change out our boots. You hate Act 7. Oh, the Val City, yeah.
It's only a pain in the ass for people like me who just it is clear on every map that wants to grind experience.
Which in this league is another league where that's by and large worthless because you can just delve for more XP. So.
What, go spend all your stuff?
Yeah.
Go spend all your sulfite? Yeah. So we were talking on corruptions. When you get a corrupted item, obviously it is usually larger. I mean, look at this. This one comes corrupted, which means it has six suffixes. Corrupted items have that increased chance of suffix or prefix, and so they often do come with these extra amounts of things on them. You can manually corrupt stuff. Now, why would you want to do this? Because obviously, you're restricting yourself. The item can no longer be modified or anything once you corrupt it. So what's the point? Well, when you corrupt an item, there's a chance for a number of different things to happen. If you corrupt a weapon or some piece of armor, jewels, something you can equip, the item gets a chance at a number of different things. First and foremost, it can do exactly what you think. Corrupt the item, nothing more, make it so you can't change it. That sucks. It also has a chance to give you white sockets, or to change any number of sockets in it to white. 25% is the chance for the first one, and then each subsequent one is 10% chance. So, 25% for the first one, then you end up like 1 in 40 for the second one, and it rolls all the way down to get 6 white sockets out of a single Val Orb. It's 1 in 400,000. And so it's practically unheard of, at least with a Val Orb. Hey, guy's dead. Yay, moving on. Getting close to that ancestral bond when we can have a second totem. Gonna help our damage a lot. What it can also do is shuffle up the sockets and kind of break up links, change colors, and just generally make a hassle for you because you won't be able to use it like you normally would. It can brick the item, which what that means is it shuffles up, it re-rolls the item into possible garbage, and it corrupts it so you can't change the item anymore. And when item gets re-rolled, you also change your sockets, you change everything. And so what was what you wanted is no longer what you wanted. Now, obviously, all of this sounds pretty bad. Is all of this really worth some white sockets? Just that? And white sockets, if you don't know, allow you to put in any color of gem. You don't have to recolor them, you don't have to bother about them if you're changing builds or if you want, you got sockets on odd-colored stuff, because when you try to socket an item, if you've noticed, the sockets tend to weight towards what stat the item is. If it's a wand, heavy int. the sockets all weight to blue. As you can see, you've got, you know, both my wands here are heavily blue. This mostly blue because it's an energy shield. Armor and energy shield, so that's blue. This is evasion energy shield, so it's 2 blue. It's got a red in it just because I kept recoloring it till it got that red. If you say want to take one of these wands and you want 3 red on it, well, that's damn near fucking impossible to do the old-fashioned way, just because the colors are weighted so much that you're not meant to be able to do that. And this is a convenience thing because usually when you're using, say, an armor item, you're going to be using strength jewels because armor and strength just kind of go together. But that's not the case 100% of the time. Sometimes when you're using an item, for example, a really popular item for casters and such is called Belly of the Beast. This is a set of armor that gives very powerful resistances and is very popular for a lot of caster builds. But it is an armor item, so it is very heavily weighted towards red sockets. And if you're a caster, you probably want 4 to 6 blue, though. And so, in this case, it would be almost easier to try and get some white sockets than it would be to try and get... you want to use that instead. Nah, I think that's
What do you
kind of
want?
worse. The other one's got 33 energy shield.
Exiles.
Than it would be to try and get that. Now you can do the Deric thing, you can do the fixed colors, but that only works up to three sockets. The last 3 on a 6 socket would be randomly rolled, so would likely end up red, and rolling 3 of a single color on the Deric bench costs 120 chromatics, which is a lot of chances. And so if you try and do that, say, 3, 4, 5, 6 times, because you're trying to get that extra 2 or 3 blue on top of your base 3 blue, chances are you're going to be a couple thousand chromatics in by the time you actually get what you want. So getting a bunch of white sockets on an off-color item like that is very useful. So I was talking about why you'd want to risk your item just for some white sockets. Well, you can also corrupt the implicit on your item.
Hey, Deric,
Yo,
look what dropped from that.
you got 4, 5, 6 socket items. Nice. That's pretty good, dude.
All armor and vein. Fuck.
Yeah, but I mean, look at how many jeweler's orbs you just got.
Yeah, that's kind of armor, man.
So anyway, we're talking corrupting implicits here. Now what this does is this takes the implicit of an item, say this scepter here that gives 20% elemental damage, because if you don't know the terminology I'm using here, implicit is what's above the line, explicit is what's below the line. Your weapon can have 1 implicit, sometimes 2 depending on certain situations, and up to, like I said, 6 explicits. Alright, Elron. Cool. And when you corrupt an implicit, it becomes a rather unique thing. I can actually show you here what a... Oh, I don't have a portal scroll. Is there one on the ground back here? No, of course there isn't. But hey, Nico, conveniently, is a portal to your mind. So I can access my my stash here. Convenient little trick, because he can also send you back to where you were. Yay, loading screens! The music even fits. Alright, so anyway, here we are. Let me show you what a corrupted item looks like. I've got a pair of boots here that I'm going to use. Now, Calum's roots normally do not have an implicit. They are just a no-socket item that says you can't be knocked back, you can't be lowered below base speed, and you can't be stunned due to the unwavering stance keystone. And then, like the Calum's items, they give you a huge pile of life, but no sockets. You corrupt a pair of these, though, and just because they don't have an implicit doesn't mean they can't have an implicit. They just don't generically have one. So this one got corrupted to have 100 life regen per second while moving. And so what that means is, obviously, when you're moving, you regenerate 100 life per second. It's pretty good for my Templar build that I'm currently making, that I haven't shown on stream yet because we're working on a witch together. And so the idea being here is you can take your Val Orbs, which look like this, but I don't have any at the moment because I used them to buy some shit earlier. And you can corrupt items to get these different implicits, and the implicits are unique to the type of item. Boots will have different possible implicits than weapons. You're not going to get 100 life regen per second while moving off of any weapon. You'll also get different implicits from swords than you would from maces, things like that. And some implicits can be worth a lot of money. +1 frenzy charge, endurance charge, stuff like that. Some implicits can be totally worthless. Say 4% dodge chance. Unless you're building a dodge build, it's not real great. And believe me, I've tried to find some corrupted dodge boots for my Wild Striker. They ain't fucking cheap. So anyway, back to the world here. Alright. Now, the other thing that can happen when you're corrupting items, because as you saw, that was a unique that was corrupted, so that can actually get the same bricking that other items can. It can turn that into a rare. You can actually have a rare that has a unique model, which, believe me, you don't actually want it. They're not worth it. Because, you know, you just waste your unique by doing that. But that can break a unique like that. It turns it into a randomly rolled rare. Now, that's not the only thing you can do with corruptions. If you, say, corrupt very specific items, a couple of good examples are like the Tear of Purity necklace or the Vol's Vision helmet. They have corrupted alternates, which the item is pretty much guaranteed to turn into. Now, I can't say that it is guaranteed because I don't actually know. It may have a chance at still breaking or changing some other stuff to it, but I know that there are corrupted alternates. Like Vol's Vision is a helmet that gives you buffs if you have no corrupted items equipped. Malachi's Vision is an item that gives you buffs for every single corrupted item you have equipped. You know, one or the other. The other example I had, Tear of Purity, Blood of Corruption. Tear of Purity is a defensive amulet. Blood of Corruption is an offensive one. But these are not the only things you can use your Val gems or your Val orbs on. You can also corrupt gems. That's why I'm mixing up words here, because I'm trying to talk and play at the same time, and I haven't gotten the skill down quite right yet. So anyway, when you corrupt a gem, a handful of things are possible. You can add or subtract a level. You can obviously do nothing. Now, add or subtract the level is interesting, because what happens if you're level 20 and you add a level? You get a level 21 gem. Pretty interesting, because gems actually have stats for up to level 30, 40, something like that. And so if you got extremely lucky, you got the perfect rolls on items, and you corrupted the gem just right, you can get a ridiculously high level gem. I think the highest I've seen is I managed to, using a +2 to gem level on a helm and like a level 4 in power and such, I think I managed to get a skill gem that was level 21 already, up to like level 28 or 29. And if you look at the wiki, they do actually have numbers for what the gem stats are up that high, and if they're worth doing that to. You can also add or subtract you can add or subtract 1 to 10% total quality on a gem. Oh, hey, look, we got all the items in this box are going to have quality. Isn't that nice? We're just talking about that. And this means that you can get a gem that has more than 20% quality. Now, it does not allow you to get up to 30% quality. If you corrupt it and it's already at 20% quality, hey, 13% burning arrow, that's pretty good. It can actually only go up to 23%. They have a limit on that, sadly enough. And then the other thing corrupting gems can do is it can give you the corresponding Val gem. Val gems, as you can see from one of the ones I grabbed earlier, which I do not have in my inventory anymore. They are gems that are like this fireball gem I've got here. It's got the red instead of the gold in the little gem wrap guild thing. I don't know what the fuck you call it. And it has the second ability to it, where you have regular fireball and then you have Val fireball. And the Val fireball, as you've seen, builds up charges. It's got this old blood drop here. Builds up charges of souls as you kill enemies, and then it fires off one extremely powerful ability whenever you decide to trigger it. And so I can actually make a Val fireball that is, say, 20% quality, because, hey, the Val gems are all corrupted, as you can see, so they can't be changed. You can't quality these. But you can get it 20% quality by qualitying it before you... Oh, Jesus, I'm stuck in a corner here. Fireball! Fireball everything! Burn it all! Anyway, you can 20% quality a gem before you corrupt it, allowing you to get a 20% quality Val gem relatively easily. I'll deal with some zombies, you bastards. So much garbage. Alright, here we go. Sadly enough, nothing really worth much. I'll take the superior silken vest, though I do need some body armor or something. See if we get worth it again. Well, triple resistance, but this has already given me triple resistance, so fuck it. Alright. There is actually more to corruptions than just Val Gems, or Val Orbs. In the previously incursions, which is actually part of standard now, you can find Alva Valai while you're running around, and she will allow you to go into a temple incursion. And in the process, you can build up a temple and then go to it and loot it. And if you're lucky, you can upgrade to a level 3 gem room, 59% quantity. That's pretty good. You can upgrade to a level 3 gem room, and in the process, it will let you corrupt a gem with the what is colloquially known as the super corruptor. And this will allow you to corrupt a gem to both level 21 and 23% quality, which is the first time we've been able to do that. And so I have one gem, only one so far, that is of that, and that's a Val Impurity of Ice that was on my Trapper. Those 21, 23, and it's pretty expensive. It takes a long time to get them these days because we don't get Alva in literally every area like we did during that league. So, you've noticed me talk about quality or quantity and rarity out of each chest. Like this last magic chest had 59% quantity, and I mentioned that's good. Well, item quantity and item rarity both have unique effects when you're running around and you're getting item drops. When you get item quantity, this is the chance for mobs to drop extra items. When you get item rarity, this is the chance for items dropped of common or magic or rare to kind of move up to the next category or to be a better item in their category. You know, you can make a rare have 5 instead of 4 if it's got better rarity, things like that. If a common would drop, enough item rarity can go ahead and just make a magic item drop or make a rare item drop. Now, this sounds good, except item rarity is by and large worthless and a whole pile of garbage in this game. Item quantity, however, on the other hand, is fucking amazing. The reason being, if you actually take a look at items, you notice Scroll of Wisdom is not colored. It's not a rare. It doesn't have rarity. It doesn't have magic. Same thing with armor scraps, portal scrolls, jeweler's orbs, blacksmith, whetstones, divination cards. All the currencies, pretty much everything that's actually worth anything, doesn't have rarity. And so rarity is not going to increase the chance of, say, a chaos orb dropping instead of an alchemy orb, or an exalted orb dropping instead of a chaos orb. It doesn't work like that. And so if you're trying to actually get stuff that's worth anything, item quantity is what you want to try and build upon. Downside being is there are very few ways to actually build item quantity. If you can, though, you get a maps or Val side areas or something that have bonus item quantity. The item quantity increases the chance of the enemy dropping additional items instead of rarer items. Ooh, I've got the invading monster in this area. Neat.
It's the difference between more rolls and a slot machine and better slot machine, better payout slot
Well,
machine.
no, it's not actually. Because like I told you, the only thing that's actually worth getting is currency and divination cards and the like. I mean, some uniques are obviously worth getting, but you'd much rather have a chaos orb drop than most uniques, because most uniques aren't even worth a chaos orb.
Yeah.
Alright. But the problem being is no amount of rarity helps chaos orbs drop. And so there's no point in building a huge pile of rarity only for it to do nothing. If you build quantity, though, that increases the chances for, or the chance for additional items to drop from chests, monsters, and the like. And so you want to build quantity because you want the most possible chances of your high level currencies, exalted and the likes, dropping. Now, the downside is when you actually do start getting item quantity, it's diminishing returns, by and large. If you have, say, 10% item quantity, you get 10% more items. Alright? But that's like the limit of it. If you get 20% item quantity, you only get 16% more items. You get 40% item quantity, well, you only get 30% more items. If you get 100% item quantity, which I believe is a theoretical limit without any mat modifiers or anything, you only get about 53% more items. So it largely diminishes. And so there's no point in breaking your ass trying to build more than probably about 40 to 50% item quantity on any one build. And so if you have, say, a Bisco's collar or something of that sort giving you additional item quantity, you're probably pretty well off, and you're already going to be getting loot as fast as you possibly can. So there are entire spreadsheets, tables, numbers, and piles and piles of information all over the internet, all over the subreddit, on item drops, item rarity versus item quantity and everything. People have tried to argue over it for years. This is... what I've told you here is pretty much the only stuff we actually know for certain to a certain extent. But it's very difficult to actually really see anything. The only guaranteed thing that you can do to be richer, to be guaranteed more items and everything, is to get a partner, get more people. Because when you have more people, you get rarity and quantity, and you get enemies are harder, which causes them to drop better stuff. You know, play with your friends. It pays off, quite literally. Alright. Oh, these aren't the invading monsters. These are Katarina shit. Get out of the way, guys. Come on. Yeah, and can you believe that this is actually the build that I started the game with? This is the kind of shit that I built just, you know, when I was, had no idea and I was a useless little pleb. But I still am determined to see if I can make this fucking build work. I know totem builds work, but I gotta stay true to what I used to do and how ridiculously flat it used to be. I used to think this build was the fucking cheese master just because I could drop the totems and run the fuck away. Until I actually got into endgame and realized just how hard mapping and such is once you get to it. And yeah, it did not turn out super well. But I'm hoping that I can actually make this work. I want to, like I said, I'm using Sire of Shards, and then I want to try and pop in every item I can to build cold damage and to build more, more area of effect from these cold waves. And then ideally I want to be able to freeze enemies too. Oh, there's that invading monster. That one's got the, yep, power thing. That one's an invader. Come on, fireballs. Woo! Watch him die. There it is. There it is.
Returns to cause pain in a place that had never called home.
Okay. Looking like we're about 45 minutes here, so
Deal with it.
we'll run through a bit more here and then probably call it before too much longer. Because I've also kind of run out of stuff I want to talk about here. I've got some other stuff I'm going to talk about next episode, but I'm still building. So we got our bandits here.
I like that.
If you've never paid attention here, obviously you get these stats here from the bandit buff, or you can kill all three of them. You get the 2 skill points. Now, generally, when starting out, don't feel like you have to go for the skill points, because you can at a later date sell a particular vendor recipe to allow you to get a book that resets your bandit choice and lets you pick another one of the ones. With this character, I don't really care to go for any of these. This is attack speed, cast speed, chance to dodge, and movement speed, and such. My Wild Striker, when I get 2 more points, at this point, I am actually going to go ahead and change to this one so that I can get that 3% dodge and 6% attack speed, just because it's the last source of dodge I'm going to be able to get. But this particular character is not interested in that one. I may end up going for the Witch at some point, which gives the, I believe, elemental damage, mana, some shit like that. I don't know. Mana, crit, and yeah, and then the resistances. But as of now, I will be going for, yes, get the hell back here, great. I'll be going for the 2 skill points, because that's what I did originally. Because I was convinced that these tiny little numbers, these little 2, 3, 4%, can't possibly make that big of a difference compared to skill points, the almighty level up points. They must naturally be better, and I must be able to pick better things from the tree. Until you realize once you've put 100 points in your tree, and you have 15 levels to go until you're 100, and those last 15 points are getting kind of spent on pittance and garbage, then you realize how important these little numbers here actually are. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to, when you're building an endgame character, go right now and pick one of these, because you don't necessarily know what you're going to need at endgame. You may actually need those 2 points. Some builds do. And generally, it's better to just go ahead and take the 2 points now. Hey, we're starting to build some totem damage. Anyway, you may be better off getting those 2 points now and then coming back for the coming back from later, like I do. That way, you get the most option, I guess, because worst case is at a later date
My
you
help is yours.
go sell the proper recipe. And we will talk about vendor recipes in a future episode. That is one thing I do want to go over, because vendor recipes are horribly they're not talked about in this game. There's no descriptions of them except in this little help panel here, which nobody ever ends up reading, because there is one of them in here. I don't even know where the fuck it is. Vendor recipes, there it is, vendor recipes. And it will tell you, if you trade 40%, you can be sold for, the armor scrap. Chromatic item can be sold. If you sell a 6-sock, you can get that. If you sell 1 rare item of each slot, you get an orb of chance. However, what it doesn't tell you is if these are certain eye levels, this gets upgraded to 2 orbs of chance, and then a chaos orb, and then 2 chaos orbs, and then a regal orb, and then 2 regal orbs, depending on your eye level. They don't tell you. You can fix, you can make specific craftings by doing stuff like this. You can do stuff like this to make a heavy weapon, which fixes the physical damage. You can do stuff like this to fix the ring here. You can also do this with like a sapphire ring or a topaz ring and get the guaranteed socketed fire gem levels. This is why I was talking about regal orb crafting earlier, is you can do this to get the guaranteed level that you can't craft off any of the masters or anything, and then you can regal it up, but that's kind of expensive. And I love how it just ends right here. There are many more of these which are complex and result in powerful or unique items, and they don't fucking tell you anywhere in the game. You have to discover them for yourself. Oh, or you just, listen to people like me and get on the internet shit and find them out like everyone else does. So. But like one of the most common ones, if you see here, I've been collecting these ones that have quality, even though they're skills I don't use. Because when you look at these, you've got, there's 13%, 20%, we've got 27%, 33%, 34%, 40%. By selling the lot of these gems, I can go ahead and get one of the rarer currencies, a gem cutter's prism, which is almighty and very important because it allows you to quality your skills. Which, if you notice, that just gave me 1% projectile speed on a freezing pulse. And so when I'm 20% quality, I get 20% more projectile speed on top of the base gem's projectile speed, which it pays off very well in the end. You need to do every little bit that you can. This is another common crafting recipe that people tend to use a lot but overlook. Is obviously every time you complete a Val side area, you get a Val gem. You end up with an exorbitant amount of these Val gems, as you can see. Me and my buddies have collected a lot of them. If you take 7 of them and one of these sacrifice fragments that you can find in the same Val side areas and some other places, you sell that and you sell 7 gems and it's a Val orb. That's simple. If you ever wanted to get a easy Val orb, this is actually a very profitable recipe because none of these gems are worth anything unless if they've got some amount of quality on them, and generally, unless if it's well above 10%, it's still never worth anything. And then these, unless if it's a sacrifice at midnight, do not use sacrifice at midnights for this. They are very rare and they're worth like, I don't know, depending on the league, they may be worth up to like 20 chaos. So don't sell those ones. But all the others are worthless, so you can get a Val orb out of it. And then, you can use this Val orb for crafting at another date. So, I would go dive back in, but we've been here for almost an hour. And it's kind of early in the morning, and I feel like going to bed. So, I see Brad and Tim, and nobody else really popped in this time. But hey, that's what happens when I decide to stream at 6 in the morning. Anyway, I will catch you all another day.